Alrighty guys, welcome back here. I'm doing another little tutorial here for the call workshop purposes. This one's a little bit behind schedule, but we are ready to go here. So this basically, I'm not going to take all the credit for this one. Ray Geddes actually came up with this idea first, except the way that he did it was a little bit different using highlight reel than the way that I'm going to show you all here. And what I'm basically going to do, I'm going to go ahead and hit play. I've got this pulled up on Movie Studio so I can kind of run through it as a timeline here. From your menu, basically what we're going to do is go into a match like any other time. And what Ray had done with his, as you wait for me to cycle through here on the video, is that he had actually, he had gone through and in the middle of recording on highlight reel, or with highlight reel if you will, he would set the camera to follow one of the people in the match, which is something you can do within highlight reel for those who don't know, and then he would put the camera, say like up above, pointed at the audience, and as he hit play or made a guy walk, however you wanted to do it, the camera would follow the guy, but they'd be out of frame, and you'd have your shot of the crowd pan, what we're going for here with this. Now, for those who maybe haven't considered this concept before, haven't considered why you want these random shots of a looping animated crowd in the game. I know the crowd used to be pretty ugly in the video games. It's definitely improved in recent years because the most detailed it's been. It's never going to be super detailed. And what you see here, as I'm trying to cut through some of these load screens as well, is we're going to wait for the entrances to start. And down here at the bottom where the menu is, you hit your button and you can save these entrance scenes to highlight reel. Now, I just really started experimenting with this on 2K19. I've seen it before. I want to say it started at least in 2K18. But what that does is it saves it, and then you can pull that entrance into highlight reel. Now, there's not a lot of camera things you can do within highlight reel, but what you can do, I'll show you once we get to the next step of this. So back to my point about the crowd pans. Basically what you're looking at is, for instance, I was recording a match earlier today. Sometimes you have an issue that forces with your hand where you need to restart the match. Maybe you have, something where some frames don't add up, a glitch. Maybe you're changing scenes. You're going from match footage to a cut scene, a run-in. There's a ton of different things that can happen there. Where if you just put two clips together, maybe it's kind of jarring in animation, and sometimes you need that shot to tie it together a little more fluidly. Sometimes you also, you're doing promos. You're cutting to a backstage thing. Maybe you don't really want to put a commercial in there. Maybe you just want the show to kind of flow without, and as you see here, there's a lot of in between these entrances. There's also a lot of little random auto crowd shots that happen in place of what used to be loading screens. So there's a lot of variety here. But one of the big things for me is, and we'll get to that at the latter half of this video, is actually your show's opening commentary, where depending on what you have going on with your show, that's usually a good 45 seconds to a minute long, maybe shorter, maybe a little bit longer if you've got a lot of stuff to cover. But the game in universe mode basically gives you the one scene of that so far, and you get your full 360-degree crowd shot with the pyro. So what we're going to do here, as you can see, I'm going to create a video and into highlight reel, and you're going to see under cutscenes here on a tab over, where everything that I just saved is saved here under cutscenes. So this is the Adam Cole entrance first, and this is one thing I do want to point out, that although I'm using the WWE wrestlers for this tutorial video purposes, keep in mind that they have their own custom Titantrons, Minitrons, and LEDs on. I don't know if everybody uses LEDs or not. I do. I haven't used them since they've been available. If you don't have the LEDs, not a big deal. But the Titantron, Minitron thing still can be an issue. I've actually, in this year's game, started turning off the Titantron altogether just to put my logo over it. Otherwise, no big deal. But as you see here, it does show the era Minitron LED thing there on the apron, and for the purposes of, you know, doing like a show intro like I'm talking about, you don't want something like that to get in the way. So do keep that in mind. That is one small disclaimer here. But as you can see here, is the it does take a little bit to load these entrances. Thankfully, the rest of the load screens are much shorter in 2K19 than they have been in the last 2 or 3 years. But anyway, you can already see here, this is a pretty good shot of the arena just from this angle that it's paused on. And the other thing is, you can see the red highlighted there on the timeline. These will also only allow you to select roughly what that shows you right there. So anything over that, you kind of have to choose what part of the entrance you're going to want to use here, because that's as much time as it's going to give you, that or less, depending on how much you're going to go with. So what you're going to see, what I do is I'm actually going to scale this down about half the size of what's highlighted there, because once you take this to the next step of the video, into the actual create a video part of it, you're looking at that, you know, those give you roughly 30 seconds or so to play with per clip. So I tried to condense some of this down to where I could fit 2 clips to a timeline at that stage of it. But this is the key that I wanted to point out here. Make sure that you highlight the alpha mask, and once you go to under the alpha mask here, the only thing you're deselecting here is the wrestler and their entrance. And again, this will get explained in the next step, because this gets into kind of green screening in a way. The alpha mask obviously is the equivalent of green screen. And there's other tricks you can use this for. You can also, while I'm on it, you can, if you want to do some things like I've done recently on animated match cards and higher quality looking match cards and graphics, you can actually go under there and green screen everything out but the wrestler, leaving it where you're able to still go in and create a video later, put a green screen behind them with a filter, and then use that for other things as well. I mean, I can do another video on that later if people would like to see it. What you're going to see here, for purposes of same thing here as I go through these other 3 videos. This is basically just each video loading in, showing you that I just go through, quickly save them, make sure everything's fixed, and then it'll roll over to the next stage of this, where what I'll do is I'll show you the next step, which is all very simple on the in-game tools. The highlight reel like this, the create a video part's not much harder, but you can already see here, you're seeing multiple angles already, and I haven't had to do any work, which this is kind of why I wanted to point this out, you know, layered in with what Ray had come up with, because Ray's idea works really well. It's a very great idea and concept, and that one allows you to be more specific on like the parts of the arena, the crowd, whatnot that you target. This one, the way that this works is it works a little bit faster for you. You don't have to position the camera yourself. So this, if you're in a little bit more of a hurry, you know, me, I've spent the last 2 days recording 4 matches, and in those 4 matches I've recorded a ton of video and a lot of highlight reels. So sometimes, you know, just want to just kind of simplify getting this crowd shots and whatnot in there, and they're still important. I think, again, going back a couple of years, 3, maybe to even 3 years, like 2K16 for me, that with the way that I did things a lot based on a universe mode and whatnot, that I would just use that basic opening show sequence with the fireworks and the 360 shot, and I still do use that to an extent, but with time I wanted to do more than just what the game gave you right there and evolve it a little bit for my own purposes, because at the end of the day, you know, we're all trying to put our own signature on what we do with this, and I think that these ideas, why the CAW workshop exists, you know, first and foremost, we're able to lend these ideas to each other now, borrow these ideas, share these ideas, add our own touches to them. You know, the list goes on. So, you know, this to me already gives us a lot of opportunity here, I guess you could say, because for this particular method alone, when you really break it down and look at it, there's so many entrances and combinations of even like lighting and things in the game. You could add pyro to this if you wanted. You know, if it's an entrance that has pyro, it will work just the same. And again, here's another, you know, a third shot here, and basically what's going to happen is you'll see on the next step is that once the wrestler is removed from these clips, you know, you have this huge opening shot here now, and it's very cinematic in a way. But anyway, yeah, you can add pyro, you can change up the lighting, you know, if it's a custom entrance, however you want to do it, and you know, you could just totally open the door for your shows to look even more original, because even though this is a concept that I think every single person can apply to their show, this is the type of thing that everybody is going to do it a little bit differently. And like I said, if you need an example, just go watch a few episodes of what Ray Geddes has done with GSF. Ray has mastered finding little nuances with the camera, making it look like you're looking down from a skybox with the commentators, to zooming in on people in the crowd who are, you know, pretty stationary and they don't move around a lot, and making it look like they have like GSF shirts on, different things like that. I mean, it's pretty astonishing, honestly. So really, again, just trying to open the door here, open people's minds to just ideas that you may not be aware of otherwise in the game. You know, because I always see a lot of people post on a lot of different groups, on a lot of different forums and whatnot, complaints that the game doesn't allow us to be as creative as we want to be, and I'm just completely in disagreement with that. And I think that really we just kind of limit ourselves a lot of the times with our creativity, and that's why, you know, again, something like the CAW workshop is a huge goal of mine, to try to keep this thing, keep the flames stoked on it, to try to get other people to contribute there. There's a lot of things planned for it coming up in the future, definitely. And this is gonna be the last clip here that's edited out in highlight reel, and then we'll go from here to the next step of this, into the creative video actual spot there. So just bear with me for a couple more minutes as this one loads, and again, just showing you a couple different takes here, what you're going to be looking at ahead of time. I wanted to do this step-by-step, menu to menu to menu. I felt like with the last video on the basic highlight reel usage for matches, I got a pretty decent amount of feedback off of that. It's still up if people haven't seen it. And as well with that Ray's video similar to this about crowd panning, there's also up. Ray's also posted some other green screen type tutorials recently. Anybody else who has ideas on tutorials they'd like to see, or tutorials that they'd like to add to the CAW workshop, by all means, feel free to message somebody, or if it's something you've put together, or you know, you've put together in the past, feel free to share it. Anything that we can archive like this, pin on the Discord server, you know, make announcements of on the Facebook group, things like that are going to go a long way for everybody in the long run here. And again, the goal for me, and it's definitely a work in progress, this is a little bit of a tangent sidebar, but is to get away from just making the group, just making the server a place to post your links to your YouTube videos, and making it more about what we're seeing here. And this is about trying to give people, you know, direction and just ideas on how to make a better show. And it's not about knocking on the people who aren't at that level of creativity. It's about, you know, showing people just how easy it is, that this doesn't take very long. I mean, it took me all but maybe, I think, 15-20 minutes to record all of this. You know, obviously matching it, I'm recording roughly about 20 minutes of dialogue over it right here. So, you know, it doesn't take nothing, guys. And even getting used to the nuances of something like highlight reel for your matches, even if you don't use it, I've told this to people before, even if you don't use it for the entire duration of the match, and you just use it here and there, it's still going to make a difference. The difference always comes down to what you are willing to put forward into the content that you create. You know, because at the end of the day, if we're not trying to explore options that these video games are giving us, you know, how in-depth some of these creative little touches are that they put into the games, then we're just losing out. I mean, we might as well be going back several years from where we are now, and which, in my estimation right now, is the best these video games have been to date. So that's just something to keep in mind there. Alright, and as we're moving on here to the last step of this process, what I'm going to do again after this is this is going to be split up into two parts. I've already got everything else pulled up here that you're going to see on my Sony Movie Studio program again, like I did on the last video. But this is going to show you kind of what the total package looks like on here. This is the create a video section of the game. All we're going to do, it doesn't matter what layer you drop this on, because you're not doing any kind of alpha channeling here or inserting here. You're just dropping in those videos that we just saved out of highlight reel. Definitely something I should have pointed out while I'm thinking about it, I'll point out here. When you're doing those, I've had my copy of the game, which is digital, on Xbox, and I think it's just my console. I have an older Xbox One. I've had it crash out occasionally in highlight reel type stuff. Make sure, like right here where you're seeing it encode, make sure that these videos go all the way through the encoding. And even down in the lower right corner where you see the red circle spinning because it's saving your data, make sure that that finishes too before you back out, or it closes out on you or anything like that, because you don't want to lose any of these clips. Because basically, when you save it from the end game, then you go into highlight reel and you save it. That's saving two different videos on your copy of the game. And when you go to like the deletion utility later on, you'll see two different videos saved there. You'll see your cutscenes for like the match cutscene is what it's called, I believe, and then you'll see your highlight reel data. And this is what we're doing here, is we're importing these video clips, which is your highlight reel data. So I'm pretty certain, about 90% certain, you cannot import the raw match cutscene data. It has to be edited in highlight reel before you can drop it in here. Because I think the only other way you can do it is to do go under cutscenes and entrances, but that's not going to work the way that we want it here. So you might be able to see there already a little bit in the preview window that you can see where there should be a wrestler there, and they're not there. But here's where it looks like full screen. You can see here where this one's panning around for Adam Cole's entrance. Already a pretty nice shot there. You can speed that up, slow it down as you want. Now here's where Adam Cole would be, where Cedric Alexander would be in his entrance here. And I like this, how Cedric Alexander's here kind of follows him down the ramp, but since he's not on screen, instead you get a really clear shot here, as you'll see even better here. It zooms in a little bit better. You can also, adjust your panning and zooming on your editor. Because definitely you want to crop out this HUD stuff anyway. But as you can see there, what it does is it zooms in nicely on those fans in the aisle front row. And again, depending on what lighting you use, I wouldn't use like an Aleister Black or Bray Wyatt, Baron Corbin lighting, something that's really dark. You don't want the crowd to not be showing, especially if it's like your show opening, because the lights are supposed to be up during a show opening. Any other kind of lighting that highlights the crowd as they're pumping their fists and clapping and doing all that little generic crowd animation, you want all of that, because you're going to jack up the crowd audio, have your music roll loud, have your commentary roll loud, and these nice zooming shots of the crowd are really going to add that extra bit of flair to your videos here. So that's just something to keep in mind here. And you see, as I loaded in another one here, these last two clips of the Drew Gulak and the Tyler Bate entrance didn't exactly fit on the same timeline. Like I mentioned, they were about 15 and 19 seconds a piece, I believe. So you see here, this one's kind of like the Drew Gulak one road. You imagine here, this is like the cameraman backing up, following him down the ramp. You've seen those shots before on TV and in production things. Again, there you can see at the top on the upper Titantron stuff, the Drew Gulak things up top. Again, that might be why it would be a little bit easier to use a custom wrestlers, a creator wrestler's entrance. That way you don't have to worry about that kind of Titantron issue. But or you can turn them off in somebody's entrances as well. And this is going to be our last clip for this part of it. Again, just a quick shot of the Tyler Bate entrance here. Hopefully, up to this point, because I've done a lot of talking in 20 minutes, I've jumped back and forth on points here. Hopefully, a lot of this has made sense. again, I try to also overview this a little bit as to why something like the CAW workshop, to me, has a lot of use. You know, it's more than just a tutorial video. It's why these kind of things are being explained in tutorial videos. Anybody who doesn't know, who hasn't spoken to me, my inboxes are always open. Even if it doesn't look like I'm online or I'm at work or something, it takes like a couple seconds to send a reply back to somebody. So I usually try to reply to anybody who has questions. I encourage everybody to post any questions they have for something like the CAW workshop, because I've been in other CAW groups for years now, for at least 5 years, as long as I've done this, and I haven't had a hard time finding helpful people. And that's my goal, is to put the most helpful people together in one place. As this last video pans out here, and what I'm going to do is, this is going to end. You'll hear me stop talking for a couple seconds. I'll get everything pulled up, and what I'm going to do is show you now how I apply all of this to what's going to be my NXT. You see I'm using all the NXT arena here for my show. This is going to show you how this all applies to my next episode of NXT, where I will be using some of these crowd shots. So essentially, you're going to get a freebie here and watch me get to fully edit and everything up to rendering on this this process of mine here, where I go through, I put it in my show, I put in my show audio, put in all that, the logos and everything in. So sit tight for just a second here, guys, and we'll be back to conclude this tutorial video. Again, while I'm thinking about it, all comments, leave them in the leave your questions, comments in the comments here on YouTube. Otherwise, there'll be links for the Facebook group and the Discord server. If you have not joined those, please be sure to do so. If you are a member already of both, again, any questions, comments, mention me, tag other admins, etc. And other things you want to see covered on tutorials and stuff going forward, by all means, get a hold of somebody, and let's continue to make this CAW workshop experience special. Alrighty, guys, so we are back here, and I'm going to show you the rest of this now. Let's have everything opened up again. Got the 3 clips from the tutorial thing there saved over on the other side of this. So what we're going to do is officially drop in everything else that we use. This is the universe mode clip here. Basically, it's going to give you a quick overview of me putting together the opening shots here for ECW. So this is just one thing. Do is go to about right here where this splits to the crowd.
You're doing great.
Drag that one over there. Go back in here. And then what I've started doing, what I like to do now, is I like to kind of scroll across the timeline here of the crowd. Get to about right here before the nameplate pops up. Make sure that looks good, and then what I do is just split the clip there. Drag that piece over again. Drag this back over. And then I think what I've decided at the last minute is I'm still going to go ahead and use Washington, D.C. as my location for this episode of NXT. Sometimes I'm a little scattered when it comes to deciding on what cities and venues I'm going to say that my shows are live emanating from. So what we're going to do is drag that over. Excuse me, just leave that in place. And what I like to do is like right here. Alright, so as you can see, we've added some more things to the timeline here. Got pretty much a good basis here. What we're going to do, I'm going to add these last 3 clips. These are things that I've recorded prior to this. A couple shots you'll see on the final episode here. So what this does This one I may not totally use because it's kind of a weird out of frame shot there, so probably not going to use that one. Go ahead and just remove that one. Got this one here. Now we'll go ahead and cut that one out too. I think this is the one that we're wanting to use right here. Yeah, and this is a roughly minute and a half or so shot of the crowd here, the high row that opens the show. We're gonna go to about right there. Got that out of frame. Some pans around. We got a good shot of the crowd and the ring here before this green screen pops up. And then since these were saved from Create a Video, you want to make sure that you added out that HUD stuff there. It's kind of a little nuanced thing. Drag these all over. Also, keep in mind that you can see here on the timeline these clips here that are saved as highlight reel Create a Video are not like these over here that I have highlighted now, where there's no crowd audio. So what I have, you can find samples. You can save videos from your in-game entrances. This is what it is. This is actually an audio clip that I've saved that goes back to 2K17. And I use it a lot because I think 2K17 still had really loud, good crowd audio. So I layer it in a lot. And then I'm just going to split this, copy it, paste it back in here, just to fill in that gap all the way throughout. Again, boost your crowd audio up so it's nice and loud. You don't want that drowning out at any point. And then the last little touch here, since I do use the WWE trademark stuff here, as people have pointed out, I like to use an NXT chant. Give it that opening signature feel. And then we just kind of sprinkle it in here on the timeline, so it's not like really overbearingly loud and, you know, like 3 minutes of just NXT chants where it's like cartoony. Put a little fade in and fade out on it, so it also sounds like it's swelling with the crowd. You know, and there's different combinations of things like this you can do. You can find audio, you know, you can play with the game's audio if you want. Almost forgot one little thing I've been adding to this. Go into here, motion graphics. Add those things in. And we'll go and add these little video effects in here. So real quick, while I've got this all pulled up, go ahead and show you guys what this looks like here real quick. So you can kind of take a last look at it here. In this part here is just going to be your universe mode intro. Alright, so there's a little look at that, and I think that looks pretty good. Last thing here that I add in, and this is just a little freebie, this is something that I started doing just very recently, actually. So, alright, in here, had these little green screened in notifiers, which I think are pretty neat. Just a little touch. Obviously, definitely not mandatory, but I think they look cool. I feel like they've added just a little bit extra visual flair. This doesn't really have to do with the crowd panning thing, but like I said, I'll throw this in as a freebie. So basically here, these are just things that you chroma key out. So I don't know if Reno Ray did a chroma key tutorial, so I'll just give you a quick one here with this. Here's some more chroma key stuff you can do.
Get ready.
Drag this little dude over here. Split him. Drag him up top. There's that one. Drag this guy over here as well. I think this is the other one that I've been using here. Yeah, this is the other one that I've been using here. Right down there. put this here. Same thing as before, just chroma key. All green screen elements are super easy to use, by the way, if you haven't used them before. Make these things so they're not really obnoxious, but they're still visible. So these pop on screen and then they disappear. I can already see there that I need to crop that out because I can see my in-game HUD popping in on that clip. So this one we drag over here. This bell icon, text that too. I need to get rid of that. Put this guy here. Split this one here. Drop that one down there on that shot. Last but not least, that one there. Those nice little notification pop-up things there. Where's this clip? So this one here. Audio. Zoom that in a little bit so that's out for you. That one. I think all the other ones look good. Oh, we got one right here. See ya. I was gonna double check these things. Alright, those all look good. And then the last thing I did not add. Insert video. Little hashtag text at the top. enough for that one. There's that. Drag that one up and over to the corner there. Alright, and then let's get one more parting shot of this, guys. Thank you all for catching this video, of course. Here's what the final result looks like.
Round one.
But just the one little thing there I'll have to clean up. But overall, I think this is looking pretty much like a done deal. It's another thing edited and looking nice for the final result of this episode. And again, any questions on this kind of stuff, any comments, feedback, anything of the nature of that, definitely be sure to leave your comments on the YouTube video. Reach out in the discussion. Again, there will be links to the workshop Discord and the workshop Facebook group, both trying to get as many like-minded people involved in these kind of projects as we can. And again, hopefully guys, that this is something that's beneficial to you. I'm interested to see how you all take this concept and apply it to your shows going forward, and your universe mode projects, anything of that nature. So thanks again for watching, folks.